Okay, so I want to talk about a psychology study that explains so much of the shit I see in dating and relationships right now. And I'm going to say this up front so that nobody spirals in the comments, okay? This is not going to be about blaming people, and it is definitely not about calling anybody evil, okay? This is just about understanding why certain patterns exist in the first place, because once you actually understand that, then things get a lot more interesting, okay? So here's the research, and we're just going to slow it down a little bit, okay? This was a big meta analysis, which just means that they combined a bunch of different studies. And this looked at 13,000 people across 27 studies, and they found a very clear link between insecure attachment styles and something called Machiavellian traits. Now, before anybody spirals and hears Machiavellian and thinks like, oh my God, this is going to be psychopath content. No, 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 no. Okay, you need to hold on. In psychology, this does not mean cartoon villain, okay? It means things like emotional distance, being strategic in relationships, manipulating outcomes instead of trusting people, and things like feeling safer controlling situations rather than being vulnerable. Basically, it's about using power instead of softness, okay? And the question of the study was not like, why are these people so fucked up, okay? It was, why do these traits tend to show up together? And this is where attachment theory comes in. So, for those of you that don't know, attachment theory basically says that early relationships, especially with our caregivers, teach our nervous systems what to expect from closeness, okay? And if care was consistent and safe for a human being, then the human being usually grows up with this baseline and assumption of, I can need people and that's okay. I don't have to perform or manage connection. I'm not going to disappear if I'm honest. Like, that is what we call secure attachment. But when you have people for like where care was inconsistent, or their caregivers were emotionally unavailable, or if they were scary, or if they were in a situation where they just like had to grow up way too fast, then your nervous system learns something very different. It learns that needing people is dangerous as hell. So instead of asking for closeness, you learn how to manage it instead. And then this is where the study actually gets really, really telling, because the strongest links to these manipulative traits were found in people with fearful, avoidant, and disorganized attachment styles. So, and these people, I need to say it, right? Because I've done a lot of work on this and I've done a lot of studying on this. These are people who want intimacy. Like, they really, really want it, but they just don't trust it for shit. So internally for them, it often feels like, I want closeness, but closeness isn't safe. I want love, but if I let go of control, I'm screwed, okay? That is a brutal internal conflict for these people. It is not fun to live in this conflict. But what does the psyche do, right? It does what it always does. It adapts. And one of the ways that it adapts to this struggle is by swapping vulnerability for strategy. So with these people, you get like, instead of here's what I feel, it becomes, how do I stay one step ahead? Or instead of, can I trust you? It becomes, how do I make sure you don't fuck me over? Okay. So from the outside, that can look cold, manipulative, calculated. But from the inside, for these people, this is just their own self protection. They're just trying to protect themselves here. And I want to be really clear, because this is where people get weird. Understanding this does not mean excusing manipulation. It does not mean staying in relationships where you're being controlled or harmed, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that this information changes how we understand power, because a lot of what gets labeled as toxic traits isn't about wanting to dominate people. It's about being absolutely fucking terrified of being dependent on them. Okay, so for them, power becomes calming and control becomes grounding, and distance feels safer than intimacy. Not because somebody wants to hurt others, but because closeness at one point hurt them. Okay, now this is where it goes both ways, and this is important because the study also looked at anxious attachment, which works a little bit differently, right? And anxiously attached people are often terrified of being abandoned, so that they use things like guilt and emotional pressure, or just high levels of intensity to keep connection alive. But again, they're not doing this consciously. Like, this is not because they're malicious. It's because their nervous system at one point learned, if I don't pull really hard on this, I'm going to be left behind. It's a different strategy, but it's the exact same fear. So a lot of avoidant and anxious attached people are actually operating from the exact same fear: the fear of rejection, the fear of not mattering, the fear of needing somebody who might disappear one day. And here's the part that actually matters, and this is the hill that I am willing to frickin' die on, okay? This research seriously challenges the idea that manipulation is just a personality flaw, okay? It suggests that for a lot of people, it's a protective shell that was built in environments where trust was not reliable. And if that is correct, and the data supports this now, then shame is the worst possible frickin' response. Shame does not make people more honest. It just makes them double down on control. Safety is what softens strategy. It's when connection feels safe that people don't need to manage it like a frickin' chessboard, okay? So if you see yourself in this, on either side of it, the question should never be, what the hell is wrong with me? The better question should always be, what did I have to learn to survive? And then, what do I want to unlearn now that survival is not the only thing I care about? That is where real change happens. Not by demonizing power, but by understanding why it showed up in the first place, okay? Now, if anything that I talked about made you uncomfortable, good. It usually means that it touched something very real for you, and I want you to sit with it, okay? And if you do want more conversations like this about attachment, desire, power, and why the people do the shit they do, that's what this page is going to be for, and that's what I write about on Substack, and that is what my podcast is about as well. So check it out.